You know I've traveled near and far, see the shining sea. I've seen a lot of places and people that were nice to me. One place that's in my heart, and this is how I feel. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. She's nestled in the sand hills on a river called Cakefield. Special to so many who proudly served our country here. She was named for Lafayette and known for cotton mills. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. Babe Ruth hit his first one, heard around the world. Sherman marched with the Union and burned the arsenal. Old Market House still standing, but stands for freedom's will. I'm talking about my hometown, Fayetteville. My hometown, Fayetteville. I'm so proud to be from here. It don't take long when you're away from home to find out how you feel. It's always good to come home to Fayetteville. My all-American city, Fayetteville. Talking about my hometown, Fayetteville.
Good evening. I'd like to call this November 10th, 2014 regular City Council meeting to order and invite the Reverend Marvin Price from Common Ground Ministry to come forward, please. Please come to the podium, lead us in a prayer. If we would stand, please, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, everyone. To the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, and to all the participants, I'd like to say thank you. May you bow our heads for a moment of prayer. God, I'm asking you tonight to bless this meeting, to give the governing body the spirit of cooperation, sound decision-making, resolve, and the ability to execute the strategies and plans that they have before them this evening for the betterment of this great city and community. Father, I'm also petitioning to you tonight with the newly elected officials as well. Strengthen and encourage them to take into account the voices of the people of our community, because every voice has the right to be heard and to be respected. Continue to bless this nation's military, especially our veterans, wounded warriors and their families, as they return home that need the services provided by our government and city governments. Continue to allow the city of Fayetteville and the surrounding communities to be a beacon of light and hope for all people that choose to call Fayetteville, North Carolina, their home. And we will seal this request tonight, God, with each one of us being on one accord by saying, Amen.
Reverend Price, could you come back up, please, and just tell us a little something about your church, about your ministry?
Oh, it's my pleasure. Common Ground Ministry was founded in 2008 here in Fayetteville. It's actually an outreach type of service that we provide. We work very closely with the homeless, various organizations such as Operation Blessing, and their ministry and what they do there. I've been the pastor of Common Ground Ministry since 2008. I was the founder. So we continue to do the service of the church out in the community. That's what we do.
Well, thank you, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Council, at this time we'll move to item 4.0, which is the approval of the agenda. Mr. Colvin?
Second.
The second, Mr. Crisp. That is with a change of 5.01, the addition of Chief Medlock's presentation. Is that correct? That's what I heard you say. Mr. Crisp, you all right with that? Very good. Council, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for your vote, please. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. At this point, wait a second, before we do that, I'd like to make an announcement. Council, when you got to your seats this evening, there was a coin that signifies the ratification, 225-year anniversary of the ratification of the Constitution, which was done right here in our Market Square. And that anniversary is November 21st. Originally in 1789, the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County will be holding a symposium on the 22nd of November at the public library from 1 to 5, which is going to discuss all the elements with the ratification. So I would invite the public to be there for that. That's the 22nd from 1 to 5 at the public library. At this time, we'll move to the public forum, and I'll ask Madam Clerk to please call the first speaker.
Mayor, our first speaker is Mrs. Ann Matthias.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ann Mathis. My address is 624 Platinum Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28311. And Mr. Mayor and the council members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. I'm Ann Mathis, the wife of the late Moses Mathis, known to all as the Bicycle Man. I am now the CEO of the Bicycle Man Community Outreach Projects. Our organization has been a permanent fixture in the Fayetteville, North Carolina community for 23 years. Its sole purpose is to support those children and family in need. Although we are commonly known for our annual Christmas bicycle giveaway, we are a year-round operation that includes computer donations to students, educational services, summer youth employment, as well as year-round bicycle donation program. Each of these programs is designed specifically to target those families, persons, or children in our community that would not otherwise afford these services. We are a 501(c) chartered nonprofit organization that depends entirely on the donation of others. Donations of bicycles and computers are desperately needed, as well as volunteers. More than that, funds are needed to keep this valuable organization and its program going. I would ask you and all the viewers of this meeting to join me in keeping the legacy of Moses Mathis alive. With your help, so many children in our community can benefit. I ask that you consider matching grants from your employees as a means of support to keep the dream of Moses Mathis alive. In closing, I would like to thank all of you for your support over the years, and thanks to Councilman Chris for the invitation. It is because of you that this organization has been able to help so many children. Still, we must come again to ask for help. Numbers of requests have risen substantially over the last year. Our goal is to fill as many of those requests as we possibly can. Please find it in your heart to donate to this worthwhile cause. Again, I thank you, Mayor, and the councilmen for allowing me to come and speak this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mathis, for what you continue to do for this community. Not only the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County, but you're now recognized throughout the state, or southeastern North Carolina anyway, for such a worthy project. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask Mrs. Mathis a question?
Absolutely.
Mrs. Mathis, for our audience, what is the address we should send donations to, and how should the checks be made?
The check should be made in the name of the Bicycle Man. The address to send it is 624 Platinum Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28311. And our office hours are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anybody is invited to come down and check us out and see what we are doing. We are open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Our giveaway this year is on December the 20th. And everybody, all the councilmen is invited to come.
Thank you again so much.
Thank you for allowing me.
And she has 800, and when I was there last week, about 825 bicycles ready. And that's not enough, folks. That's not enough. Thank you.
Mayor, our next speaker is Mr. Donovan McGeechee. Mr. Donovan McGeechee. Our next speaker is Mr. Edward Banks. Mr. Edward Banks.
Hello, Mr. Banks. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilman. My name is Brother Edward Banks. I live at 4882 Hurley Drive in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's near the Fayetteville and Hope Mills line. I'm down tonight to talk about an area and a project that we're all familiar with, and that is feeding the homeless and destitute. My organization is known as the Caring Seven. We have been here since 1996. We started, and some of the council members know me, like Bishop Wright, Sister Davy, and I think Brother Hurst have been down to Vic's Drive-In where we feed at. But I'm here tonight also to ask for your support in feeding. We also have our 501c3, and as you know, everything has gone up. Prices on everything have increased. We have been averaging about 1,100 meals per Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, if we have funds left, we'll have a meeting, assemble our funds, then we will adopt families, and we will carry the meals to the turkeys and all to the families. But they have to have a means of cooking them. We don't cook them at that time. However, for Thanksgiving, the meal is completely prepared. And when I say a meal, I mean a meal. You get you get a lot more than you would normally get in the average place that you go to. So I'm asking for your support on this, because I once myself was homeless, and someone helped me back in the late 50s and early 60s. But God has blessed me to be in the military, to own my own business, to retire, and now I'm here. I'm giving back to my community and the people that deserve it. So if anything that you can do to help me, please let me know. My phone number is 910-864-3549. That's my home phone. My cell phone number is 910-818-3686. That's my cell phone. As I stated, we have been doing this since 1996, and apparently we haven't gotten it right because we're still doing it. But I solicit your support, and thank you for giving me this opportunity, Bishop Wright. Thank you.
Mr. Banks, thank you so much for what you and the whole group does. If anyone has not seen the operation and the plates that you put out on Thanksgiving, it is absolutely remarkable. You've got quite a machine over there, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not me. It ain't about me. It's all about God himself. We just giving back to his people. I'm just one of the servants.
You are a blessing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, our next speaker is Dr. Rakesh Gupta.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is my second visit here. You might feel like this is a broken record, but I feel compelled to come back and speak to you all. I'm here to speak to and oppose the building of the Sanderson Farms chicken plant. To me, the most important issue is an environmental concern. 1.25 million chickens will be slaughtered per week, which is about 65 million chickens per year. There will be a network of chicken farms all around us between 30 and 40 miles of this plant. Even though Sanderson Farms says that they will not be located here, it's only a matter of time. About 30 to 35 pounds of manure per day will be generated per 100 chickens, which is about 20 million or more pounds of manure per year. This will be processed and sprayed on a land that is ill-equipped to handle this waste. It will eventually find its way into our water. The air and water quality will be impacted very greatly. Feathers will be everywhere. I know that you've been told, and we've been told, that it will be a very clean operation. The odor will permeate downtown and everywhere else. In Texas, chicken houses are responsible for about 20% of state's water pollution. Health and disease is of primary concern. Bronchitis, asthma, respiratory ailments, skin and other infections. Greater use of antimicrobials will result in emergence of resistant bacteria, increased hospitalization rates, cuts, bruises, musculoskeletal injuries. According to the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, at least a third of the workers have had repetitive motion injuries in the past year, and 20% have current injuries. The quality of the jobs, most of them would be of minimum wage. The quoted turnover by Sanderson Farms is 40% per year. Mostly the work is quite difficult and quite nasty. According to Dr. Steve Wing, an epidemiologist at UNC Chapel Hill, poultry processing jobs are dangerous and can lead to disabilities that impose costs on social and medical services and reduced income and reduced taxes. Mr. Mayor and the Council, before you approve, I ask, please consider a community impact study that will provide us an objective assessment of impact on our environment, that is air and water, and on social and medical services. These are real people with real lives, real children, real great-grandchildren. They have real expectations. And I think we should do everything possible to avail ourselves of every opportunity to study and understand before we approve this plant. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to come here one more time.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, our next speakers are Miss Young Johan and Miss Amy Jensen.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am here to represent Flaming Sword Christian Academy. It is a school here in Fayetteville on 111 Burns Street. The academy was founded in 2002 by Leroy and Wanda Hatmaker. This is the only special needs school in Cumberland County. The closest special needs school from here is in Cary. So we do have students from surrounding counties drive into our school every day. We started in a rental house on Yadkin Road to leasing a building from the Second Baptist Church on Burn Street. The school began with 3 students and a vision of unlocking your child's full potential when education alone is not enough. We are dedicated to the students with mild and moderate learning difficulties, including autism. Over 50% of our students are from military families, and 79% of our students are zoned from Cumberland County schools. We started this year with 59 students, and now we have a waiting list large enough to start 2 extra classrooms. We have students attending from different counties, and since we are running out of room, we have a waiting list now that could increase our staff. We are looking for a place where we could build a school that we need. So one of our purposes of being here tonight is not only to inform you of our services for this area and Fayetteville and surrounding counties, we are here to ask you to help us find land that we're able to build a bigger school where we don't have special needs children on a waiting list. They should be in a school where the teachers understand their learning difficulties. We are in need of 10 acres or close to that in order to build the school large enough. We have the builders ready to go. We would like to stay in the Cumberland County area or Fayetteville downtown area. We would appreciate any help that you're able to assist us with. We stand on the word of God, so I'm leaving you with his word. Luke 11:9, it says, and I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Please read over the material that we've provided for you. And God bless you, and thank you, and have you a good night.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do in our community.
Thank you.
No, we have no further speakers.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Chief Medlock. Welcome. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight and update you very quickly on our crime lab situation. As you know, for about 20 months, we have been exploring different opportunities with quicker turnaround with our crime lab examinations. And right now, the Cumberland County and the Fayetteville Police Department, as most every other police department and law enforcement agency in the state, uses the North Carolina State Crime Lab to process evidence. The problem is that the needs of the state of North Carolina have far outgrown the ability of the State Crime Lab. The great people do a great job, but they're woefully backlogged, which causes our cases here in the Fayetteville Police Department and also the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office and in Cumberland County, tremendous backlog with drug cases and with DWI and other forensics types of cases. Right now, we believe that we're somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 cases that are being processed in Raleigh at the State Crime Lab. We have one case that we know of today that dates back to 2008 that is still there at the crime lab waiting processing. So we have begun to explore bringing our own crime lab to this city. And as you know, we've had conversations over the months that I was interested in actually building a crime lab. And in our research, what we found were a couple of companies that are out there that actually provide full-service crime labs. We just have to pay for them. And so what we have done is enter into a partnership with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, began discussions with integrated forensics labs. And they're in Pennsylvania and in Texas, and they work regularly with several departments in the Texas and Pennsylvania states and have proven that they are very reliable and provide all of the ASCLD certification necessities for crime processing that we need. And again, to refresh your memory, you were gracious enough to allow the city manager $75,000 in our current budget to do some research on what it would cost to build a crime lab in our city. What we have found is that the integrated forensics lab will bring in a complete laboratory, all of the technicians at their cost, all of the expense to set up a lab and begin to operate here in Fayetteville with no upfront cost. It's their expense. All they are asking us and the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office to do is enter into an operating contract for 12 months of $300,000, payable by month and in a one-year contract. We would like to begin this, as you can imagine, we would like to begin this, and the Sheriff's Office would like to begin this as quickly as possible. So what we are proposing, and what I've asked Mr. Voorhees to do, is allow us to use the $75,000 that we were putting toward the research of the lab toward the first 6 months beginning in January, which would then get us to a new budget year, and then me coming with my hat in my hands asking you for the $150,000, our share of that yearly cost to bring that crime lab here. We will go from 1,500 to 2,000 cases. These folks have told us that they can clear up our backlog in as little as 90 days. And after that, our forensics needs with them will be a 5-day turnaround. And again, at the point that we find that they're not able to live up to their part of the bargain, we can simply void the contract with the appropriate notice. So I'm updating you, letting you know that we're moving forward with this idea. As you probably know, the County Commission heard the proposal from the Sheriff's Office last week. We're very excited about this. We believe that the risk is very low and the return is very, very high, and we expect now to have an even greater impact in our crime efforts in our city. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We do have a couple of questions. Mr. Moon.
Thank you for the presentation, Chief. I was going to ask about the backlog, but you said about 90 days. And since this is a joint county Fayetteville, $150,000 a year apiece, who has the higher arrest rates? Is it inside the city or in the unincorporated county? It sounds like we're getting a pretty good deal if they're going to pick up half the cost, and we have like 2/3 of the population in the county.
Shh.
Okay.
It is a better deal for the city because we have, as an example, we estimate that we would have almost 1,000 cases go before a crime lab of some type this year. The sheriff's office would have a much smaller portion than that, but this contract, because the sheriff's office does cover the county, would also cover Spring Lake and Hope Mills.
And a follow-on, I read that while we may have a higher arrest rate, the county is going to save money in the time that they have to house people awaiting trial. So while they have a good chance to save money. So would that be true?
We expect that the cases certainly are going to be adjudicated much quicker, and it is fairer to those folks who are accused of a crime to have a speedy trial. So we do believe that there is going to be a value to them that we don't see right now. You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McDougal.
Oh, that was quick. I thought I was kind of in a queue way back down the road. Actually, when I read the article in the paper and hearing you talk, there would probably be a cost savings too, because in fact it costs us to house locally, and so there would be a savings in that. I'm thinking that, in other words, if they get time in prison, we wouldn't be housing them locally. We would ship them on up to the state. I'm thinking so.
Yes, sir. Again, I think that the ability to move the case through the court system is certainly going to save the county and the city money in the long run.
Right. And the other question I had, really a question, is that the forensics that we've already sent to the state, the integrity of getting that back will there be any loss of that integrity and getting that back, or?
No, sir. Mr. McDougall, we will send the same personnel up to retrieve that evidence. It will be signed to that technician. They'll come back, sign it into our evidence section, and then when we take it over to the IFL lab, then we will sign it into them. So all of that will be very orderly and very systematic to ensure the integrity of the evidence and the processing. Great question.
Mr. Colvin.
Chief, thank you for that presentation. So just a two-part question. One, if I'm understanding you correctly, this will be one of the few or maybe the only crime lab in this region. Is that correct? Is that what you were saying? You said most of them are using Raleigh?
Yes, sir. Mr. Colvin, this will be, we will be a real trendsetter in the state of North Carolina. There's one other lab outside of the state crime lab, and that's Charlotte Mecklenburg's lab that they have for their own department. This really is breaking the mold, and we expect a lot of other regions, not just in North Carolina but around the country, departments that are facing similar circumstances as we are to do this in partnership with other departments. So I think you'll probably see in North and South Carolina labs like IFL come in and regionalize service. The real question is, can those departments really afford the service?
And so where I was going with that, thank you for that, where I was going with that was basically, is it the intent to allow other law enforcement in this region to utilize that, which will help offset the $300,000 cost of it?
Yes, sir. Once that lab is set up here, they will reach out then to, after they know what the capacity from our departments are, they will then begin to reach out to other departments, and their sales pitch to us is that eventually that cost will come down as other departments come on. What we want to make sure of with IFL is that they don't oversell. So now we're right back in the same problem that we might have with the state. So we will work with them to make sure that our capacity goes first. But yes, sir, it will drive the cost down.
All right, and finally, can you give us an update as to where you are with the hiring of the new 47 officers that we had budgeted for earlier this year?
Okay. That one I wasn't ready for, but I'm gonna give you a shot. So we have hired 8 who are currently in our training academy, 8 recruits. Those 8 we expect to graduate in 5 or 6 weeks, and then they will spend 14 weeks on out with our field training officers. We are following the hiring plan that was directed by the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Bauer, from July. And we are in the process now of, we know that we have 3 lateral veteran officers, laterals from other departments that we have made job offers to. We're working on 2 others. And so what I would tell you is this time next week, we would have a total of 13. We're not scheduled to hire any other officers or begin to train any other recruit officers until February of next year. So we continue to seek the best candidates, both for laterals and in service. I will tell you that the 5 that we're hiring as laterals are going towards the Governor's Highway Safety grant because we had to hire those officers in 90 days. So that is not a full cost to the city.
Ms. Jensen.
Yes, great presentation. My question was kind of in line with Councilman Colvin's. I remember when we were at the symposium down at the Coliseum when this whole crime lab came up, and I think that was back in, was it in August? It was April. So we're April, May, June, July, August, September. So we're about 7 months into it, and we are well on our way. So I would say like in 9 months, we're going to have a moving crime lab. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. We expect January 1 to be operational. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm a little bit confused because in July, we our budget, we wanted these new police officers, and now I'm hearing that as of today, we have 8 police officers. And we're going to get, you said 13 more? Five more, so we'll have 13 total. And we started when?
I started July 1 trying to find new police officers.
July 1. Is there any way we can get this process? Because, we all ran on crime, and we need to get some police officers out there, especially we're going to have this crime lab now, and we need to get the police officers out there. Is there anything we can do to speed that process up?
Ms. Jensen, I think really it's my responsibility, and I'll take the responsibility for it. I'll tell you what happened. We had, back in the spring, as you know, we were working on a lateral hire program that has now been adopted by the department and by the city. But when the question came up in the spring of the step plan being for our police officers being evaluated and perhaps changed, we lost a lot of those candidates. And right now we're still in a study phase for the step plan. So the things that we hear from our veteran officers that we're really trying to recruit is, I'm not interested in coming there until I know that your step plan is solid for police officers. So we're working through that right now through a process with a vendor. We should be perhaps moving faster to do the step plan study for us and for Fayetteville Fire Department. But I think that's really holding us back at this point. And certainly we lost a lot of very good candidates during that time of leading up to your decision to what number of officers that you would fund. I would like to be very, very aggressive in the hiring so that we can get those officers out there. As you know, it just simply takes time. Our best bet to get is to get veteran officers in the department, and we can train them in 4 weeks in our academy, 4 weeks with a street field training officer, and they're operational in 8 weeks versus almost a year for a recruit officer who is not certified. So that would be my wish too, that we could be as aggressive as possible.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Mr. Chris.
Chief Medlock, I was at the graduation, your academy graduation. How many graduated in that class that we had the ceremony over at Village Baptist? How many were in that class that graduated?
Right at 22, I think.
Okay,
22.
So the 13 you're talking is not about those.
No, sir.
That are already, so don't be misled. All right, so I think the 22, there was a goodly number of them. And one of the good things about it, about 5 or 6 of them were veterans.
Yes, sir.
And everything. So they are in the process now of being certified, because I met one the other day that's riding with one of my officers. I say mine, is in my neighborhood.
That's what I want to hear.
And so now this 13 figure that you're mentioning is an addition. Is that correct?
That's correct. But they're also going against our attrition rate too.
Okay.
So as we hire new people, we're also losing folks to retirement,
Exactly.
illness, and other things.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Mr. Art.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Chief. Thank you very much for that update. We certainly appreciate it. And I will echo the sentiment that, 27% higher of the 47 new officers we're looking for is not where I think this council wants to be. And I don't think it's where the city citizens want us to be. So we would encourage you and the city staff to whatever we got to do to get this step plan worked out, but we need to get these officers hired and on the street. So question I did have, though, was very good numbers have been coming out lately on the crime stats. So kudos to you and your department and everybody who's worked so hard. Can you give us a brief update? Do you have any additional updates on those crime stats?
Now, again, just for the record, I didn't plant this with Mr. Art, but thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We just got our October numbers in, and for the first 10 months, it's funny how I remember these numbers. We're showing an 8% decrease in violent crime in our city versus the same 10 months last year, and a 13.2% decrease overall in crime in our city. There is the FBI released their crime stats today. I don't want anyone to be confused. Those crime stats that the FBI released today that the media is reporting on is for the first 6 months of 2013. we're making a huge impact in this city. And then if I could share with you, we are currently, and one murder is too many, but we are 6 homicides down from the same time last year. We're also down 6 traffic fatalities versus the same time last year. And I really credit that to the great enforcement actions of traffic that our officers are doing. But I will tell you that these decreases are not the result of anything that I'm doing or the Fayetteville Police Department individually is doing. These numbers are a credit to this city because we have tremendous neighborhood watches and we have people that are actively engaged in helping us drive crime down and drive it out of our city.
Chief, thank you. I just want to make sure, so for the first 10 months of this year, in comparison to last year, violent crime's down 8%.
Yes, sir.
And crime compared to last year's down 13.2%.
Yes, sir.
6 fewer homicides.
Yes, sir.
And 6 fewer traffic accidents.
Yes, sir.
Those are indeed good numbers, and so thank you very much. And a special thank you to all the citizens out there in our community watches who are taking advantage of the network. They're the network helping us to fight crime, and we really need them, and we appreciate their work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wright.
Just want to thank you for the work you're doing in the community. Have a couple of questions. The crime lab, will the crime lab be operated independently of the police station and the sheriff's department?
Yes, sir, Mr. Wright. We have found a location that it's a piece of property that's owned by the county, and it's vacant, and we have made the arrangements. It's about 1,000 square feet, made the arrangements to house the crime lab there.
Okay. Will this help in hiring new personnel, or are there new jobs will be created through the lab?
As a matter of fact, there will. There won't be many, but certainly as that crime lab grows, and we have the training at the educational facilities at FSU and Methodist University and even Fayetteville Tech, we hope to keep some of those folks that are entering the forensics field here now. Instead of taking their expertise back to their homes, we hope to keep some of those folks here. So as that lab grows, we expect homegrown, they call them scientists, I call them lab techs, okay, to be involved in it. Will be completely independent from both departments.
Finally, I just want to thank you for the work you're doing in the community with the PALS program. The PALS program is excellent in building relationships with the community and the police department, and I just want to commend you and your staff for the hard work that I see you doing on a daily basis in all the meetings and on the front line and in the schools and things of that nature as well. Doing a great job, and thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Chief,
before I let you go, I want to give you a shameless plug here. Would you tell the community about Next Door?
Yes, sir. You know, we're looking for any way to prevent crime or drive it down, and so we have partnered with an app. I don't really know how it happens, but it appears on your phone or your computer, and it is a way for people to be plugged into what's going on in their neighborhood. They can sign up, register for their particular neighborhood. They're vetted to make sure that we're not adding the bad guys into the network. And for those folks that want to be involved in preventing crime in their neighborhood, they're now able to be plugged in even if they can't go to the neighborhood watches. So they're getting alerts throughout the day. They're able to communicate with one another and actually communicate with us because we're members of Next Door as well. So we hear what's going on. We're able to communicate back and forth, and it's a great tool. Again, we're looking for those innovative ways to connect everybody into crime prevention and crime fighting.
So when we all go home, it's nextdoor.com.
Yes,
we can
sir.
access it from our phones or iPads or wherever. And it's kind of a virtual community watch. Is that?
Sure is, yes, sir. A great tool for us to continue to drive crime down.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for doing what you do, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, Mayor Pro Tem Davey.
Sorry, I just had a quick question in regards to tooth matters, actually. Didn't know if there would be any way for you all to speak a little bit about the youth mentorship program that you all are looking at doing in the community.
You're talking about the funding of the Yes, ma'am. We have, and again, thank you for allowing us to do this with drug asset forfeiture money. There's no better way to spend drug dealers' money than to invest it in our kids in positive ways. So we put the offering out. We had 3 entities that are well known that responded and wanted to put an application in, wanted to be involved in this, and those 3 entities that have been identified or identified themselves, and we're working through that now, are Find a Friend, Great Oaks Youth Development, and the Boys and Girls Club. And we're working with them now to make sure that everything is in order, and then we'll begin to help them with their operational costs for the very near future. We think it's a great way, again, to reinvest in our children in this community.
Thank you again, Chief.
Thanks.
Before we go to the consent agenda, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Wright with a special message.
Yeah. Put me on the spot.
Councilmember Wright, thank you very much for coming forward, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I am the liaison for the Veterans Affairs for the city as a representative of the council. And because it's Veterans Day on tomorrow and the Veteran Days activities that took place this weekend, we want to take the time out to thank our veterans and our active duty soldiers and their families for the hard work that they do in serving our country, putting their lives on the line every day, and the families that have to deal with their spouses and loved ones being deployed overseas in combat. Throughout the history of our country, we are the greatest country on the face of the earth, and we have the most greatest soldiers, male, female, and all military armed forces that keep us safe every day. We want to take the time out to just say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for all the many days and the foxholes and the cold and the service that you provide that those that have not served may not have a clue. But being a 20-year veteran myself, I do understand the sacrifice that it takes. And so I thank you, Mayor, for giving us this opportunity to thank our veterans for a job well done on the behalf of the great city of Fayetteville and the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Wright. You're Pastor Wright when you're down there. When you come back up here, you'll be Councilmember Wright. So, thank you for that message. Council, I'm sorry, I see a light. Mr. Mc.
Yeah, I was going to ask him who was he on the way when he was traveling. Who was it? But no problem.
All right, Council, at this time we'll go to item 6.0, which is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
That's Mr. Moan. Is there
Second.
a second? Seconded by Mr. McDougal. Council, discussion on the item? Seeing none, I'll ask for your vote, please. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Mr. Shuford, holding us up this evening. Item 7.01 is uninhabitable structures and demolition recommendations.
This may take a moment to load. There it is. Oops, this is the wrong one, excuse me. It has not been deleted from the, Mayor and council members, these are three demolition ordinances that were continued from your October 27th meeting. There are 415 Cedric Street, 439 Cedric Street, and 5111 Haddock Street. Now, I do want to go through our presentation, which y'all have not seen. This is 415 Cedric Street. It's in, all three of these are in Council District 4. It's a blighted building.
Which district again? Scott, which district did you say?
Let's not pick.
It's 4. It's not 2. Surprisingly, not 2. This particular property has some outstanding taxes, some code violations, but no city outstanding city assessment. So here's our process for this particular property. On July 9th, we held a blighted building hearing, and the owner appeared and promised to repair. So Mr. Swanson issued a hearing order the next day, allowing 60 days for that to happen. There was no action by the owner. Here's the property on Cedric Street. It's a large parcel. Some pictures of the structure. And clearly there's been some entry to the building from that picture. And what we do before we bring these to you, the week before we bring them to you, we go out and see whether there's been any change that we have not noticed. And in this case, there was no change. In fact, that's going to be true for all three of them, other than the fact that they replaced the particle board with real plywood. 439 Cedric Street, 7 code violations, some outstanding taxes. Again, it was at that same blighted building hearing. The owner appeared and promised to repair. A 90-day hearing order issued and no action by the owner. And this is the adjoining property to the other one. It's a multi-unit project, as you can see from the meters and as well as the doorways. And this is the status of it at the time, and this is the current status of it, which is not changed. 511 Haddock Street. This one had a little bit more 911 service calls. There have been more code violations. PwC has some assessments, as do we, and there are outstanding taxes for this property as well. July 18, hearing order was issued the next day after that hearing, and no action by the owner. Here it is, just around the corner from the properties on Cedric Street. Shot of, again, entry into the building. Other shots of that they also have an outbuilding that's been boarded up. And current conditions, we went out again and double checked it, and not much has changed. So these are in a neighborhood that, since we're on the crime issues tonight, the police chief has indicated that he can get a substantial reduction in our crime rate if we can stop crime from this particular neighborhood from occurring. And so with that, we would ask you to authorize us to proceed with demolishing these 3 structures.
Mr. Mayor, if a motion is in order,
Mr. McDougal?
if a motion is in order, I move to adopt the ordinance authorizing the demolition of these structures as identified by Mr. Scott Shuford.
We have a first and a second by Mr. Wright. Questions, Mr. Hurst?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Shuford, 415 was given 60 days, 439, and 55111, 90 days. Any particular reason why?
60 is the shortest time period that we provide, and if there seems to be some extra work that needs to be done, the owner's there and request additional time, then we certainly work with them, and that's probably how we got the 2 90-day ones.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, we have a first and a second. Council, I'll ask for your vote. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Shuford. Council, I know it's been fun this evening. Thank you, Mr. Crisp.